So, good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and good evening, everyone. Who I'm sure people are joining from all over the world. And today, I'm glad to introduce you to welcome you to the 30th session at GPA at 30 with the theme Learning from the Past and Building the Future. Mm, Internet gave up on me already. Sorry. Uh, all right. So, as I was saying, welcome you all. A few housekeeping announcements. We're gonna start at 11:30, and it might end at 1 p.m. GMT. The session is gonna be recorded, as I already mentioned. There will be a quick presentation or discussion with Jeff will kickstart, and then followed by Jemra. There will be after that we will have some Q&A and discussion session, and then we're gonna wrap it up by having one or two announcements, and we'll be in for the day. Moving forward, let me introduce you. I'm your host today. I'm Shantanu Raut. I'm from India originally. I'm an architect and urban development professional. Currently, I'm doing my PhD with the Marie Curie Fellowship at the University of Bologna in Italy. My focus area is housing, energy efficiency housing, people centric urban development. And I've been associated with Geoffrey since 2021, firstly as an intern and then as associate working on different projects. uh, Moving forward, let me introduce to today's theme. So today's theme is learning from the past and building the future. Uh, and once again, it is an absolute honor for us to gather today to reflect on 30 years of work and at the intersection of housing, land, and urban development. Uh, our theme could not be more timely. Around the world, we are witnessing rising inequalities, deepening climate crisis, uh, shrinking international development fund, and growing pressures on housing affordability, tenure security, land management. These challenges shapes the lives of millions in the urban areas all over the world. At the same time, our global context is marked by violence and displacement and a staggering scale. The ongoing Russian war in Ukraine, the civil war in Sudan, and the genocide in Gaza remind us the struggle for safety and dignity and dignified home is not only a technical challenge but a profound moral one. As the writer James uh, Baldwin mentions, not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. Uh, Today, we face these realities together. Against this backdrop, the work of building fair, more resilient, and more human-centric cities uh, become more profound and more than technical challenge, as I said before, but a more profound one. Our responsibility as a professionals are more important than has has it ever been. Moving forward, it is my absolute honor to introduce Jeff. Many of us already know Jeff, and Jeff is a very well known uh, as we know that he is a founder of GPA and leading voice in urban land housing, tenure security, and one of the most influenced thinker in our field. From his early research on squatter settlements in India, the groundbreaking work on tenure security, regulatory reforms, and land management across Asia, Africa, Latin America, and Middle East. Jeffrey's contribution has shaped policies, debates across the globe. His work has consistently centered the life, the lived realities of urban poor and challenges to rethink people-centric urban development and what it looks like. Jeff founded GPA in 1995, and since then it has become a global reference point for human and evidence-based approach to the land and housing policies. What makes Jeff Voice unique is not just his technical expertise, but his constant instinct that people must have absolute control over the place where they live, some things he has argued since 1970s and continue to do so. With this, I will ask Jeff to kindly uh, take the charge and start with the procession of 30th anniversary. Over to you, Jeff. Thank you.
Well, many thanks, Shantanu, for those very kind words, and welcome to all of you, and many thanks for joining us today. I've got one of those irritating coughs and colds, so I hope all you have updated your antivirus software to avoid catching what I've got. Now, I can't believe how quickly the years have flown. And I'm really happy and lucky to have been able to meet and collaborate with all of you at different times and places on issues that really are so important to everyone, how and where we live. It's a universal issue, and I can't think of anything more important at the moment. I want to start by thanking Gemra and Shantanu for taking time out from their PhDs to organize this webinar, and I'm just so happy that we've got different generations involved today. When we held the webinar to celebrate GPA at 25, the key issue that emerged from it, the discussions for me, was the changing and the reduced opportunities for young professionals hoping to build their careers, improving the living conditions of the urban poor. This seemed to be ironic at a time when my generation had been so lucky. When I started, there were lots of opportunities for small grants. I came back from, I got a Commonwealth scholarship to go to India. That allowed me to do a year's or plus research on slums in India. I came back, I got a grant to write that up as a book. I then got a job teaching it because no one else was teaching on that subject. And the opportunities at that time were so good for young professionals wanting to build their careers doing what we've all been doing. And what really worried me and became very clear during the GPA at 25 webinar was that despite the fact that the need has been increasing dramatically as the urban areas have increased way beyond the professional resources available to deal with it, the opportunities available to built environment professionals, whether it's architects, planners, engineers, surveyors, urban designers, economists, the opportunities to build your career and try to help the urban poor seem to have gone down. And that really just seemed to be we were going in the wrong direction. It inspired me to come up with an idea of a grant system that would be at least, a gesture in the right direction. And thanks to many of you, Forbes, Mike Slingsby, I don't think is here, Banishri, Tony, who I hope is joining us, and Jean Duplessis, and Shantanu. I developed with their support, we developed the Urban Kickstart scheme, which I tried to register as a charity unsuccessfully in the UK, but eventually the Aubrey Barker Fund, which is an existing charity focusing on land management, they thought it was a good idea, and they very kindly agreed to adopt it as part of their program. So earlier this year, we formally approved that with them. We invited people all over, thanks to all of you, or many of you, for promoting this on social media. We received well over 100 applications, and I'm delighted to be able to say that in the next few days, we will be announcing the first winner of the Aubrey Barker Fund Urban Kickstart Scheme. And that'll give a grant of about £15,000 to a winner to spend addressing an issue of concern on the built environment over the next year. Now, what I'm hoping is that this will be just a trial, and that we can start fundraising in order to expand the program. So any suggestions from any of you to help us identify possible sources of funding to expand the program would obviously be very welcome. Now, I really enjoyed having 24 interns over the years of GPA, and I'm really delighted to see many of you taking part and joining us today. I look forward very much to hearing from you about the issues you've had to address, how you are building your careers. I know some of you are doing extremely well, deservedly so. Others, when I was lecturing, I always recognized that some students would go home with opportunities available because of their family connections or whatever, and they would do well. Some would struggle but make good progress, and others would really struggle to build a career doing what they wanted. And we can't afford to waste those talents and levels of commitment from so many young people. So what I'm hoping is that we can expand this program, um, and that I want to hear how all of you have been doing, the challenges you face, and the technical, social, economic, environmental, and ultimately political challenges you think that need to be addressed if we're going to make effective progress. Now, those of you of my generation have got lots to pass on from our long experience, but I hope this event will provide a basis for us all to do that. Now, I distilled my own experiences, my own ideas in the 2022 book, Somewhere to Live. But I've also written a short note in the last few days of about 1,000 words, which I'll distribute after this webinar. And I hope this will be a contribution to what will be a debate. And I'd like to invite all of you to write a note, a contribution of about 1,000 words, identifying what you think are the main issues you've had to address, both personally and in terms of the larger world challenges facing everybody looking for somewhere decent to live, and send those, and we will then put these together in some form of a blog or a post on social media, which we hope will then provide a whole range of ideas from younger and older professionals to stimulate debate on what needs to be done and how it should be done in order to go from our current situation of crisis to a better future. And of course, as Shantanu has pointed out, we are at a critical moment in human history. Some conservatives might say, and they'd be quite correct to say, that we've always had inequality, and you need to learn to live with it. But now we've got to a situation where, based on Oxfam reports, 6 men have as much wealth as the lowest half of the whole human population. And that is simply unsustainable and unacceptable. Especially, I can guarantee none of them are any happier than I am. So what's the point in being so rich? Of course, the real reason is they want the power. And that's what I think we need to address. But inequality has always been an issue, but we haven't until now had to address also the climate crisis. So people who say that growth is the answer, I think, are barking up the wrong tree or facing in the wrong direction. And it looks to me now that we need to readdress what we mean by development, how we define success, and how we measure progress in achieving it. So I would like to invite you all to send your own reflections and ideas in about 1,000 words. We'll disseminate those as soon as we can. And if you're in a position where you prefer to be anonymous, your comment to be anonymous, so you can speak frankly, please just let us know, and we'll obviously respect that. We want your ideas as fully and freely as you think are appropriate. So thank you very, very much for joining us today. I look forward very much to hearing your own thoughts and ideas about taking things forward. And now I'd like to pass back to Shantanu. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you for raising these important issues. And certainly, as a young professional, I would be really glad to contribute in best way possible. Moving forward, we have Jembra, who's going to present her experience. And to do that, first, I will ask Jeff to introduce her. Thank you, Jeff. Over to you.
Thanks. Well, it's a great pleasure to introduce Gemra. I got to know her. I'm not going to put the year on it because she'll remember that more accurately than me. But when I was doing my teaching in Germany, I had the pleasure to, it's interesting how when you're giving lectures to a group, there's always one or two people in a group that just seem to resonate, that seem to stand out as people you've got something in common with, something you identify with. And Gemma was, and Shantanu was, and the others taking part today were all in that category. Gemma came over to be an intern, and we've been collaborating for 4 or 5 years now, I think.
More than that.
More than that, is it? Time
Yes.
flies so fast. And Gemma has been an absolute mainstay in helping me with projects, doing reviews, putting things together. Both she and Shantanu have that lovely combination of conceptual clarity and practical skills. And that combination is highly valuable. And they've both been, and Gemma today also very, very good in building ideas in ways which are both practical and forward-looking. And she's been taking forward all my research, which I did in 1970s in Ankara. She's been building on all of that. We even shipped all the original questionnaires. I did 1,200 interviews, and I kept, out of habit, I suppose, I kept all 1,200 questionnaires. There were 5 sheets of paper, and they were gently going yellow. But I took all of them over to her, and she very, very kindly digitized a lot. She found people in common, and we've been building on that link in Ankara. So I'm absolutely honored, delighted, pleased to see that Gemma is now building.
Maybe I can literally show.
Building on it. Over to you, Gemma, to take things forward.
Thank you so much. I thought that maybe I can literally show how all these 50 years old documents look like. I have more than that at home. They're always with me on my desk. So thank you so very much, Jeff. I'm Cemre. I think we know each other for some time, and I've met Jeff in 2016 when I was doing my master's degree at TUM. Jeff explained quite well, but I was interested in what he was saying. Then he offered me an internship at GPA in London. Then I had an opportunity to work with him, and you don't see me, sorry. Or do you see me?
We don't see you, and I don't know.
Really?
We can see you, but the image is frozen.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Just do
maybe now.
Now we can. Now we can.
Okay, sorry. But could you see the documents? This was more important.
Oh, wow, yeah. They've gone yellow for
Yes.
sure.
These are the piles of documents from Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. And these are from 75. Anyway, yeah, I was working with Jeff since 2016, and since 2018, I'm actively working with him as an associate. And actually, I wanted to remind how we started working my research with him, because he was generously supporting me, but the issue was funding. So, but I didn't have any experience on that. So Jeff was applying with me very patiently on several fundings in that time. Then we could receive some of them, but we also had many rejections. So I wanted to indicate this point. People really need some mentors or some people that would guide us. And I really find it very valuable that what Jeff is doing, what GPA is doing for the young researchers, because there is not much opportunity left for us who wants to conduct a research independently first, and it's not that easy. And and afterwards I could convert my research with Jeff based on his reference work about Ankara, the capital city of Turkey, into a PhD work. And I'm now working in Germany doing my PhD, and I'm on my last year. I'm just writing my thesis now, and I'm really appreciate Jeff and GPA for all these opportunities. And I know that I'm not alone in this. And meanwhile, we attended with Jeff many conferences, events, and Jeff generously shared his network with me, and literally showed how to become an academic, how to be a kind person, how to talk to people, how to react, how to apply the fundings, how we follow the relationships in a very gentle way. So I learned a lot, and I feel really gifted in this sense. Anyway, without prolonging the speech too long, I will cut it short and give the floor to our other colleagues. But I would like to express my deep gratitude to each and every of you for attending this 30th anniversary celebrations of GPA, and would like to welcome everyone once again. Thank you.
Thank you, Jembra. I think your screen is frozen.
Really?
Yeah.
Sorry for that.
No worries. But thank you for putting forward your thoughts, and you have pointed out very rightly that we all need a mentor who can guide us throughout the
Exactly.
process, and very few of us are fortunate enough to have such mentor going beyond the university, and Jeff was one of them for me as well. So I'm glad. Moving forward, now I would ask you all to contribute in your own way. What do you think are the challenges you have been facing throughout your career, and what do you think how we as young professionals can navigate through it? And yeah, the floor is all yours. Maybe one by one we can go share our thoughts. And thank you very much. Who would like to go first? Well, please go on. It's it.
I can be first because I'm running from meeting to meeting. So I actually have a meeting in 3 minutes, and I would just want to say very quickly, thank you, Jeff, for inviting me here. I'm also one of these fortunate persons to have had Geoffrey as a mentor after my master's. I'm from Mexico, and I am very well integrated now into the sustainable urban mobility, let's say, work, also through his guidance and support. I think a challenge I'm struggling right now is because I'm working with at the institutions, at companies, and maybe the next step for me would be to how to become like independent, maybe consultant, so on. That would be maybe one point that maybe we can talk later. But just I wanted to be very briefly to say very much thank you, Geoffrey. I'm really happy to see your face and hope to see you soon as well.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Itzel, and please do write your own thoughts and ideas, because that would be really, really valuable. Great to see you doing so well, and cycling in the background by the look of it. And the eco-mobility thing is so important. You know, I think someone was saying that a civilized country is one where the rich travel by public transport rather than the poor have cars. And so I think you're helping push us in that direction really well. Yeah. Claudio, I see you've joined us. Any thoughts you'd like to?
Many
issues. I mean, it's the issues I want us to focus on, not GPA particularly. This is just an opportunity to get together and discuss things that mean a lot to us. And
yeah, well, thank you for inviting me, and it's really nice to celebrate the survival, persistence, and drive to keep on with the things we commonly believe. Some of our beliefs are common, and that's what drove us together now and then. Now, for those who don't know me, I'm Claudio Scioli. I have many nationalities according to my DNA. So I'll spare that from you, but I worked many years in IHS for about 15 years, worked for 12 years in UN Habitat, and after leaving UN Habitat, I started working independently, but also as associate back to IHS in Acciona Engineering in Spain and other organizations. So I met Geoff, I don't know if you remember. Actually, I met you, but without knowing who you were, when I heard there was a Scottish guy in IHS who was selling a very interesting book on sites and services. And so I went there, and then I met Forbes Davison, and he had this book, and I bought the book, and I said, yeah, this is what I was looking for. I had checked you. So that was 1986. And so I identify myself very much with a number of the articles in that book, because that was the work I had been doing in the city of Brasilia for about 5 years before I was there in 86 in IHS. And when I joined the staff in 93, so after working for the Dutch government in a neighborhood upgrading project in West Africa, in Guinea-Bissau. So I was invited to come to this conference in Birmingham, very interesting conference where the creme from the creme of researchers, scholars of the UK were there. And there was a meeting exactly on the same terms that you calling what's changing the environment, and the majority of British scholars were crying. And I made a very strong comment about the decrease of resources of ODA, so they couldn't do what they were used to do in terms of research. There were a lot of change in priorities. The issues that brought to the conference were not a priority in the developed cooperation. There was a shift. So there were a lot of change going on. And so I made an intervention saying, why don't you put yourself in the position of a professional in developing country and a scholar? I don't know if you remember that intervention. I think you would be crying out loud, because there is an inequality in access of knowledge and research capacities, which we actually do a lot of stuff out there, but we were never capable to do the necessary research. And those who did the research never really brought back the findings, the knowledge, the conclusions back to the sources where we were as professionals doing, working local governments, working with NGOs and producing amount of data. So reflecting on that inequality in access of resources, in ability to do the necessary research, to publish, disseminate, and have that causing impact, positive and transformative impact, it's not easy. So when I think of today, the situation is even worse, because access to resources to do research, the kind of research that will generate the type of knowledge and skills that may cause impact and changes in policy, are becoming more and more difficult, especially because now we have this amount of information, whether they are reliable or not, but the amount of information available is enormous. So answering your question, what has changed? I think that for me, when I start working in so many countries in the last years with UN Habitat, what I was pleased to see is the local capacities that were much different than 20, 30 years ago. So a country like Guinea-Bissau, Mozambique, you see there is a university, there is a group of scholars fighting like hell to do proper research, to do proper work, transform policies, locally with all the difficulties. And these are the kind of let's say, the dialogue between those who are international, those who are locally there, you know, with the hands-on things has changed, and for the better, but not ideally, yes, for the changes that are necessary. And I think the realization that there are more capacity, not only as individuals, but institutional capacity, changed the ball game. And therefore, I think the relations in the field, because I mean, we of course we can do urban renewal experiences in the housing crisis in the EU countries, etc. But when you go to developing countries or the global south, as some prefer to call it, the situation changed dramatically in scale, in content, in priorities, in the dynamism of politics, both at the grassroots level and the government level, and the uncertainties, and now with the changes in climate change and the vulnerability that comes with that is affecting a lot, let's say, people who are in a disadvantaged positions in societies. So I believe that when you have a consulting firm that brings together the knowledge, the mobilization of different professionals, opening opportunities for young professionals, I think that is a change in the relation in order to become partners and to do much more partnership than we have done in the past, and more collaborative, more co-creation, and some are using, and learning from the past, being able to really systematize, particularly a person like yourself who have a very long life on the road, who are able to systematize, to critically think about the lessons learned, and bring forward that and keep the ball going. So I think that it's an enormous change going on. And also with the artificial intelligence stuff coming up, this is a game change in the way things are being produced, to the point that we need to have checks and balance of how people are producing these reports and analysis and things. So I think there is a very rapidly changing environment, and it's going to be tough for the new generation that are coming. And I think the co-creation, collaborative work is going to be a way out to actually create something transformative. These are some of my thoughts just on the spot. So I have to reflect whether I'm saying the right thing or not. But this is I'm speaking out of my heart and mind. Okay.
Thanks very much, Claudio. It reminds me of a situation we've had here in Ealing, where the council has announced that it is promoting a community-led regeneration charter. And when some of us applied to join, they said, sorry, we've already selected the speakers. And we said, well, in that case, shouldn't you be honest and say that it's a council-led regeneration charter with people involved on, when invited? Because I think one of the key things that we're trying to struggle with on this, and something which I've always found is a distinguishing factor between success and failure in a policy or a project, is the level of trust that people have in it or in the authorities that are doing it. And what you're saying about co-learning, partnership building is one way of ensuring that I think we do build trust and real focused development. Thanks very much for that, Claudio. And if you want to write something for, to contribute to this, that would be great. Okay, back to you, Shantanu.
Yeah. Gemra, would you like to take over?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much. Now I would like to introduce one of our younger generation colleagues and my dear colleague Rengin to the stage. And she is from Ankara like me, and she is working on her PhD about Ankara at Brandenburg Technical University in Germany. But I think she might reflect some of the experiences of her about finding funding and the difficulties and what sort of challenges that we are facing here. Yeah, the floor is yours, Rengin, please.
Thank you so much, Cemre, for introducing me and also inviting me to this wonderful meeting. I'm really honored to be here with our more experienced colleagues, I would say. When Cemre mentioned about this meeting, about the challenges of the young scholars, like how they struggle studying abroad and doing a research, I really wanted to be part of it, to reflect on my experience so far. As you might know, in Germany, like Cemre also mentioned, it's like really hard to adapt yourself to this whole new academic atmosphere, because you, as a foreigner, especially as an outsider, you don't know how to find a scholarship, you don't know how the academia works here, or like maybe you don't have enough connections, which is really important, because this is what I struggled since I came to Germany. And it was a quite challenge for me to find a scholarship. I applied to some from Germany, because here, like in my program, I'm studying in heritage studies. Sorry, I forgot to explain myself. I studied in heritage studies, and I was also part of a research training group, which was founded by DFG, Deutsche Forschungsgemeinschaft, like they have short-term projects. So I was doing that both because I really needed to have outside scholarship, but it was also hard for me because I also needed to fund myself, like my own funding plus DFG's support. And I would say it took a lot of time for me, the whole application process, like to be seen in academia, because sometimes you feel lonely in German academic system. It's really hard. Like even though you have a professor, it doesn't mean that they will find a position for you and so on. So it was really hard for me. And also my other colleagues, they had the same struggles, because the heritage studies, you don't have your position, or you need to find your own financial support in my program, because they are all foreigners like me, international students. And I had a scholarship from my university, thankfully, for 3 years. But there was something missing, because I was struggling. Like I wanted to be with part of 2 programs at the same time, like to widen my networking and to be able to get used to German academic system in the end, and to widen my knowledge about urban studies or historical like historic, I would say, buildings and heritage studies. So it took longer than 3 years. So this is also, I criticize. Sometimes the foundings, they are highly, like perfectly designed for highly efficient profile. Maybe I also consider myself efficient. But as I said before, if you move to another country, it also takes some time to get used to the whole system. Not only doing PhD, there are also many aspects to be able to survive here. So I couldn't finish my thesis in 3 years, unfortunately. And that was the next challenge for me. How will I fund myself in the last year of my PhD, like, which is really important. Cemre also mentioned just the writing process. And I really think that writing is a job itself. Like you cannot just see it as a side goal or side task, I would say. So I started looking for jobs to able to finance my studies. But it's also really hard because also, like the Professor Payne mentioned, the world is going through a really big shift right now. Also, the economy in Germany is not doing well in the recent years, I would say. There are a lot of international students in the city I live, and also the job market is not promising, and they are kind of exploiting the students, which is really sad, for like small jobs, part-time jobs. And I also did my best to work as a part-time job in the gastronomy sector, and it's also really hard to be able to only focus on your thesis when you are doing a completely different thing for outside of academia. And yeah, this is my criticism, because they offer you this PhD program, but they don't give you any financial security. So nowadays I'm still working in part-time jobs. I'm trying to write my thesis, but it's really hard. I don't know, like also the positions in Germany, they are not so promising. Because you can write your thesis in English, but when it comes to find a job, you need to have a really high German skill, I would say, almost like a native speaker. Yeah, this is my experience so far. It has really up and downs. If I talked a lot, pardon my long speech, but I can say I have a lot of experience about it, and I'm definitely sure, like for the upcoming generations, for the upcoming scholars, we need to give this kind of know-how, like we need to transfer this know-how, especially the people who come outside of Germany. Because if you are born here, it's relatively easier, because I could also see my German colleagues struggling to do their PhD. But for people like me and Cemre, it's really hard to find your own way. And Cemre also mentioned there will be a blog about this kind of struggles. I would love to be part of it if you could give me a chance and talk about my experiences. I think it's a quite interesting journey about doing a PhD in Germany and how to find your way. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks very much, Dogan, and really glad you could contribute today. I think one of the things it reminds me of is the number of courses that have stopped providing or addressing these issues. I mean, I used to teach at the Munich University where I met Cemre. I used to be at Darmstadt for many years where I met Anshika. You might like to say something in a minute, Anshika. But also in the UK, there used to be a dozen university courses addressing different aspects of the built environment. That's gone down now. And I think not only has the number of courses gone down, but the focus of courses has changed and the cost of courses has gone up dramatically. I mean, unless you can get a really good grant, the cost of studying the sort of courses that were routine when I was lecturing are now prohibitive. You've got to be very, very rich to be able to study the needs of the poor, which seems really wrong in many, many ways. Anyone else like to come in on that point?
Okay, Jeff, I think maybe being at the university here, I can make some comments on that.
Yeah.
So yes, as I think Nilgun said, the situation for international students is very difficult. The fees are prohibitive, very expensive. Somewhere even here it's around sort of 20,000. So it's it can be very difficult indeed without sponsorship. But if I may say, actually, the situation for the UK students isn't that great either. The majority of UK students are now having to work. Even they get the loan, as you know, from for their studies. But actually, I would say 80% of our students are working to top up their sort of loan and be able to live. And especially in places, of course, depends also on the city concerned. Some places like London or Oxford are very expensive to live as well, which I'm sure the same would apply probably in other countries as well. In different places, the cost of living would be different. So yes, indeed, I mean, it is very difficult situation. The focus of the programs are also changing, so it's very much cost driven. We are actively reviewing and closing down programs that previously were seen to be viable, let's say at around a postgraduate program that might have around, I don't know, 12 or 15 students. Now they are considered not to be viable because actually they are expected to produce a contribution to the university cost, which maybe they are not, and therefore, alternative use of resources might be seen to be more efficient and more effective. So everything is now based around the bottom line, essentially, of what contribution it can make towards making universities themselves viable. So yeah, I mean, the same story basically applies across the board now. In different sectors, including universities, and the pressures unfortunately get transferred down to students. Just a brief comment on that.
I think you're absolutely right, Ramin, to point out that it's domestic students who are struggling as well as foreign students. But I think a lot of universities now are financially dependent on foreign students to make themselves viable. And what that represents is that the whole ethos of education has changed from being a vocation to being a business. And students are now customers. They see themselves as customers. They're paying a lot of money. They want a good degree. Whether they've earned it or not, and so on, is another matter. I understand a lot of theses are being submitted using AI, and that universities are employing the most expensive grade of AI in order to highlight plagiarism resulting from the lower grades that students can afford. And whether that produces any really good ideas in learning and whether that improves the human condition seems to me to be very much in doubt. I also want to come in on that aspect.
Can I just comment on certain points?
Sure.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Sure.
Good. Now, all these discussions reminded me of a newspaper heading years ago back in States, and it said, selling neckties with a PhD.
Say that again.
Selling neckties with a PhD. So, but this problem of having education in the right field, having or getting finance for your studies, etc., has become a problem since many years. For instance, I also remember in States say that they have cut scholarships on studies studying the regeneration pattern of frogs in Adriatic Sea. So, I mean, people have to be careful. Do you hear me? Or, I mean, I'm seeing your faces a little bit.
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
You are not reading. Sorry?
We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. So the selection of study or selection of the field in which the students choose is an important thing, and it has. And we are right now living through very different times. I mean, times are changing. So, for instance, a couple of days ago, in States, governments stopped recognizing architecture as a profession for postgraduate studies, and stopped providing scholarships for postgraduate studies. So things are changing. You see, I mean, if you are a postgraduate or if you are a student master or PhD student back in States, all of a sudden, yeah, next year your scholarship will be cut, or you won't be able to get or if you are planning to go on a postgraduate study, your scholarship will not be available any longer. So instead of complaining about the non-availability of the scholarships or finance, probably students, I'm especially saying about for Nilgün, I mean, what she's saying is right. I mean, she touched upon the valid issues, but still, you have to think about carefully. I'm not in the university, I'm in the academia, but you have to think about the field in which you are going to continue your studies very carefully, because the things are changing. The needs of the society is changing. So, and finance accordingly is different from what it used to be. So we need to look at things from a different angle, or we have to change our frame of reference so that we can, in the next 5 or 10 years, if you are a student, the job you might have may not be available, or the studies that you are thinking of pursuing will not be there, or you may not be able to find finance for that. So what I'm saying is, instead of rather complaining about unavailability of the possibilities that we used to have, may not be there any longer in the 5 years' time. So you have to think accordingly.
Well, thanks. Thanks, Bülent. Who else? There's a few who haven't said anything, contributed yet.
I think you just have to talk, Forbes. Sorry? You should just talk, I think.
You want? Forbes or Marcia?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, sure. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, just to slightly change it, I'm actually sitting in IHS just now. We've been having a meeting discussing, how we learn from the past, because we're looking at a possible sort of research collaboration in Egypt and discussing the potential of using Ismailia, where we worked together, as a case. But the idea would be to try to create a framework which would allow then young researchers in Egypt to get involved in this. And the idea of collaboration, working together, maybe it's mentoring, maybe it's simply joining together, but finding a framework where we can use the sort of experience that you and I have had the privilege of being able to have, and which, as it's clear, it's becoming more and more difficult for young researchers to get. Okay, how can we put these together in a way where we can do what we can to help get funding available and get the framework, and then having a framework which can allow people to work together using the past experience. But to me, it's really important that the future messages on these lessons are not coming from older people like us, but they really need to come from new generations. And they can only come if younger people have the chance of actually getting involved in the research themselves and being able to link up with people in practice. And I feel very personally concerned about this, because that you're sitting on a lot of information. You have all sorts of insights which never appear in reports. And it's really important to have a mechanism that the lessons out of that can be shared. So I think trying to find this a good framework. We've talked together about it, longitudinal research, and we're trying to develop a nice three-dimensional framework where you can look over time, but also on location, and also how things link across thematic areas. So the issues of climate coming in, the issues of poverty, but how do they intersect? So that's, let's say, what we're doing. We think that's maybe a nice way to link also into today's discussion.
Thanks very much, Forbes. The number of times we've discussed this idea of a longitudinal different cities around the world. And today might be the perfect circumstance to do that, because we've got these different generations involved on this, and the network is wider, obviously. But that's a great thought, and maybe generation here today, Banishri and
I think Banishri wants to go next.
Yeah, great. That'd be great. Also, well, there's quite a few of us. Ramin might have good cities that they know very, very well. And if we've got younger generation people doing research in those cities, then a series of books on different cities around the world, the longitudinal evolution, to show how policies have been impacted or not impacted, and why they've not been impacted, or the reasons that they were, and the lessons we can draw from that, could be a very tangible outcome from this webinar. Sorry, Banishri, please.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent idea. Looking at these longitudinal development of cities and documenting it somehow in ways that are accessible to everybody, not necessarily as books, but then as something which young people look at, maybe YouTube videos or whatever. The other thing that I wanted to share is that in a country like India, we are actually living in times when we have a great dilemma about not wanting to recognize our what we have done in the past, and moving ahead in a way that shows that we are a developed country. So what is happening is that part of it is that I'm part of the a committee at the School of Planning and Architecture in Delhi that is looking at revision of the syllabus. Yeah. So there is I'll just give an example, that there is a subject in the postgraduate course on urban planning with specialization on housing. It's called informal housing. Yeah. So there's a lot of pressure from the staff as well as students to knock that off and put in either real estate or GIS. Yeah. And what people say is that students, when they get out, should be employable. And who's offering the employment to people? It's people who are doing all these kinds of, mapping and stuff like that, yeah, which is required by so it's companies like that. And the other thing is it's really real estate developers who need them for projects, yeah. And and 80% of the students who are getting out of the specialization of housing are, joining real estate companies. So that is one, big issue. The second is that it's not fashionable among students or staff anymore, yeah, to be trudging along, going into the slums and learning things about how poor people live and things like that. It's not that the problem has reduced or in any way been solved, yeah, But there is a kind of an attitude. Let's move on. Why do you want to go and look at that? On the other hand, when you see what government is doing, they're doing the same thing. Yeah. So it's this neoliberal way of developing. And even though, I mean, there have been so many studies, which, Jeff, you know about, the benefits of slum upgrading, for instance, or how well sites and services have done in some places. Yeah. There is a complete negation of those things, and there is absolutely no public funding available now for upgrading slums. Yeah, with the result, what you happen is that you have a whole lot of so-called built affordable housing, for a lot of which there are no clients, and on the other hand, the conditions in informal settlements is absolutely deteriorating. Yeah, so this is a kind of a dilemma that this country is facing, and I think this is something which is happening in a lot of other countries. It's happening across South Asia, at least. Yeah, this idea of what is modern, what is development, yeah, actually leaves behind the problem and goes somewhere else. So the big question is, how do we deal with that? How do we look at it and make this whole thing fashionable again, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, very good point. Yeah.
Hello, Jeff. Thank you very much for.
A few people haven't contributed yet.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
Ahmed wants to speak a
Ahmed,
bit.
yeah. Thank you very much, Jeff, for inviting me for this interesting session. So, so my voice is. I suffer from diagnosis. I suffer from the disease. I couldn't speak, but I have to tell something. You at the beginning, you said that we go to the right road or not. That's the main coach. After so many years, we are on the right track or not. We have to look at forward. What shall we do the next years, and what to learn it from last years. I think we didn't achieve much in urban development. That's my opinion, because the situation is still as it is. Poverty is increasing. Housing costs is rising. Everything is rising for the poor people is increasing. The built environment, even climate change. Look at Gaza today. What effect of Gaza of climate change and the people of Gaza? I think we didn't achieve a lot. We achieved a little thing. That's all.
Thanks very much, Ahmed, and thanks very much also for
Thank
joining.
you very much.
That's really appreciated. Good to see you. Good to see you. Daniela, do you want to pick up on things, because you've had a big up and down and sideways and forwards in your career? You've had to face a lot of challenges.
I think Jeff, she's no longer with us here.
Oh, she had to leave. Has she?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else who's not spoken?
Maybe we could welcome Venkat. Would like to say something?
Yeah. Hi.
Hi.
Thank you so much once again for the possibility to join. I'm sorry I've been sick. I've been to therapy and so on. So I have just been silent. But first and foremost, just so thankful to see the possibility to have together and 30 years of GPA and been part in 2012 to be precise during the London Olympics time to be there with Jeff and as an intern. Thank you so much, Jeff. It's wonderful to see you, and thank you so much for the support all through. Just two stands that I was reflecting on as going through the things that people were sharing is that one is the opportunity that was there, like with Anshika and others in the part of the Mandas Urbano program, to meet professionals and experts like Jeff, like Pope Davis and others who had been there, who taught us. But then the subsequent part of it, of continuing, depended in many ways on the opportunities either in the home country or in the domain or the expertise that we were being taught in. So whatever projects were probably working on, whatever institutions or organizations were working on such similar projects, they were the ones who would be open to recruit us or to allow us to continue. So in some ways, the thought that was already shared, which is like the domain that was getting priority at some point was green mobility, sustainability. And now if you look at any project that comes up, it's almost tied up with always AI. So AI related modeling, AI related planning, AI related. So in some ways, it seems to be that whatever the fad comes up or whatever is the seem to be moving, as Madam Manager also shared, that things that have been, let's say, stable and for a long time sustainable and useful have somehow been overlooked. Like the developments in the past have been somehow, let's move on from that and move to the next big thing. And somehow this kind of transition, as a professional, it's not easy to make very quickly. And in that aspect, I also feel the lack, like Anshika mentioned, there are times when the experts come in and they have not had the field experience. And so they are basically speaking from theory, and in theory, almost always, as we can all vouch probably to say that always everything works perfectly. It's only on the ground realities that we face the challenges and then able to modify and present a realistic picture. So just the two thoughts I had was that the opportunity to interact and the opportunity to learn from experts is a great thing and it's a blessing. But then subsequently, the next stage, it's really many times driven by the market forces and the geopolitical things, which is, I think it's a hard balance to maintain. And then, of course, really thankful for this opportunity to speak, but also the project that has been for this year, this funding that has been provided is just incredible, because this is really in some ways lifeline for those who don't have this possibility, and probably this is the only thing. And I'm really happy to hear that more such possibilities could happen as it goes on. So yeah, really look forward to contribute. Thank you.
Well, thanks very, very much, Venkat. Great to see you again after a little while. And
Awesome.
glad to see you've still got that big smile. And
Awesome.
sending all very, very best wishes to you and, of course, everybody. Peter, do you want to say something?
Yes, I'll be short. I'm struck really by two main things. The first thing, in the beginning of the talk, you mentioned the importance of early experience and a scholarship and how that can tee it off. I mean, we had a parallel in that sense that when you were working in Ahmedabad, I think, or in India at any rate, I was in Delhi for a year. And since then, I've been working as a consultant based in Zurich. And listening to you all talk, I kind of had the feeling I'm in a backwater. For the last decade or so, I've finished my consulting business, reflecting, reading about the once and future meaning of development, really. And this is the second thing which really impressed me listening to your talk is how much the context of development has changed since we began. I mean, we began well, thinking about it actually in the 60s, studies when officially there was confidence that okay, after the colonial period we discovered there was incredible poverty in the world. What a surprise! 70% of the people in the world were extremely poor, and something could be done about it, and we can do something about it because we knew the solution. It was development. High mass consumption society was the future of everybody. I mean, people like Jeff and I understood from the beginning that wasn't the solution, but we had the opportunity to look for the solution, to try things out, to develop possibilities, working with people in different contexts in different countries. And what strikes me more and more listening to many of the things you've said, and also to what I've been reading and seeing, I don't think many people today believe there is a solution for the world, which is the same solution. That nobody really knows if we can build a future in which there's a place for everybody to live equitably and peacefully. That hope began really with the European Enlightenment, I would say. And the other aspect I've been thinking about the last days is the question of learning from the past. How far back into the past do we have to go to learn the lessons we need to build the future? I think we have to go at least back to the Enlightenment. Because when you look at what the forces of change are in the world today, the changes are coming from the right. Yeah. The changes are coming from the right. The conservative, the left, the progressive left is struggling to hold on to the principles and beliefs that we had inherited essentially from the Enlightenment and from years of social democratic struggles and victories. And the left is still hoping that this is a foundation for rebuilding the future. And I'm afraid, I think that we have to go farther back before the Enlightenment to revise the foundation of principles of human rights and justice. And it's really striking how, in a sense, the right has realized that. They've gone back to other solutions, tribalism and, tribalisms and tariff. That's the future. That's the future. And here's another point. Trump is right. I mean, Trump is right that we don't really have a chance, the West, in competing internationally against China, for example, unless we devise a social system, a social organization in which the markets have a place and don't dominate the society. And I don't think we have a concept of how to go about doing that, except for the right-wing concept of tribalism and the like. And I think there's an incredible catch-up need on the side of the progressive left, if you like. So that's what I've been thinking about.
Thanks very
very
much, Peter. I mean, we've all been involved in development, but in different ways, different sectors, for different periods. And I've been asking myself that question increasingly. If you've been involved in development, you feel after 50 years you should know what you're talking about. I'm increasingly asking myself what we mean by development and how we measure progress in achieving it. You're absolutely right that the agenda, as others have said, is being set by forces that are not in the direction of social progress. And this is leading to a real crisis. For me, the answer is to take on the right. They've been so good. I think Paul Krugman, in his book, Conscience of a Liberal, posed an interesting question. how is it that political parties, and he was referring to the Tea Party in America at the time of the Iraq invasion, and he said, how is it that political parties can generate so much support from people who would suffer from the consequences of their policies? And his answer was, they are brilliant. No, he said they are brilliant at deploying weapons of mass distraction. He's talking about migrants, talking about things that are less critical to the fundamental challenges we face. What I like about Zoran Mandami in New York and Zach Polanski in the UK is that they are calling it out for what it really is. They're calling out the crisis that we face, and they're willing to take on the right. And I think it was the US president who took on the right, creating the new agenda. And he was wearing the badge, wearing the hatred of the right as a badge of pride. And I think we have to be absolutely basic in this, that there's no point in pussyfooting around talking about we need to improve social progress. We need to take on the right and be as hard-hitting and as imaginative and as creative as the situation requires. If we're going to win the public support that turns the debate around from the way it's going at the moment to one which is much more socially focused. Anyway, those are my thoughts on it. We need to wrap up probably soon, do we? Does anybody any closing thoughts?
Jeff, can I say a
Please.
few words?
Please go on.
Yeah. Now, Jeff, I just wanted to congratulate you with your GPA at 30. Great achievement. We're always very happy to have you at IHS and to provide your excellent input in our master course, the Housing and Land Justice course. Unfortunately, we are facing the same situation as we've heard from many others, that there's a cutting of scholarships. So we don't have scholarships for students from the Global South, which is an enormous problem for us, because in our Housing and Land course, mostly those students were on scholarships and they're not coming anymore. So we are also struggling to bring across this important, the importance of housing and land. And we see many of these students come in as customers and they want to see, where can I find a job, like we've heard from others also. And how can we bring across this message that housing and land is of crucial importance? I just came back from Kolkata, visiting railway slums where I was 30 years ago, seeing that nothing really has changed, that people have a mobile phone, but they're still in the same terrible conditions. Why can't we bring in people that want to change this situation? Why can't we reach the audience anymore? So maybe that also has something to do with what Banashri was saying, that we have to find the right way of selling our message and making this, bringing this to the agenda of more people. And maybe we need a revolution. I don't know.
It's coming.
I think things they are. And I think it's absolutely essential that those of us who are committed come up with good ideas and ways of trying to build support for them. So I'm really, really sorry to hear that IHS is also having all these problems. I know UK universities are. More than happy to do anything I can on a pro bono basis to help contribute to any courses. And I really, really have valued my links with IHS over the years, and be happy to contribute in any way I can. So thank you very much, Mark, for that.
Yes, great.
Yeah, I think we are coming towards the end of the session for today. And we definitely have to keep this conversation going and hope the revolution comes soon. And yeah, with this in mind, I would like to thank you all for being here, and congratulations to Jeff once again for the 30th anniversary of GPA. and hope we have this conversation going on. Last but not the least, I would like to point out that please feel free to share your contribution in terms of small, up to 1,000 words write up to, and you can always forward it to Jeff's email, and we'll be looking forward to it. And thank you very much. If there's anything else, Jeff, you would like to share, if not,
No,
we can close the session.
certainly the contributions of ideas going forward would be absolutely vital. And I think it's reinvigorated the discussion that Forbes and I have had over the years. Maybe others in our discussion today, and maybe outside colleagues, would like to think of also perhaps doing longitudinal studies of the city that is very close to their hearts and which they know very well, and perhaps where there's young people wanting to do research that could collaborate with our generation. So if that's another possibility, that would be a great practical outcome of this webinar. Thank you all so much. It's been an absolute pleasure and an honor to be with you all, and look forward very, very much to continuing our collaboration in whatever way is convenient. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All the very best. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Have a
Geoffrey. Give